Hi everyone. So we are about to begin with our session. So we have the flow of the session is designed in such a way that we have multiple people interacting with you before we start. Before we introduce Praveen and he take over the session. So without delaying any further, I would like Shivam to introduce himself and the AWS team about a bit about AWS and setting the context of today's webinar. Over to Shivam. Shivam.
Thanks so much, Vineet. Hi guys, as Vineet said, I'm Shivam. I'm part of the Startup BD team at AWS. Before we get onto the main content of the AWS AI ML, I just wanted to quickly talk about few programs that startups like yourself can utilize. If everyone knows about it, there's a program called AWS Activate program. Activate program is designed for startups to build on AWS without worrying about the cost and the technology support. The Activate program essentially has two parts to it: the commercial enablement and the technical enablement. Commercial enablement essentially means we provide you with credits to build on AWS, to offset your cost on building on AWS. Technical enablement is where our solutions architects and our experts like speaker for today are going to go deeper into your architecture, deeper into your use case to help you build that use case better. Quickly talking about the Activate program. The Activate program has two sublegs to it. One is the founder's tier. If you're a bootstrap startup, have never availed credits from AWS before, you can go on the AWS website, search for the founder's tier, apply for the founder's tier. If you get selected, you get $1,000 worth of credits to start building on AWS. If you are part of any accelerator, incubator, or a VC, and have not availed any credits before, you can avail the portfolio package, which is a lot more credits. The credits start from a $5,000 for an incubator accelerator, goes up to $100,000 for VCs and the top tier seed funds and the VCs in the country. Moving on, just some hygiene about the webinar. Everyone will be on mute. If you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. We have another expert on AI/ML answering questions over chat so that we can cater to maximum questions during the webinar. You do not have to wait towards the end of the webinar to post your questions. Please feel free to post it while the webinar is happening, while you're looking at the presentation being made by the speaker. Post the webinar, we're also going to reach out to you to gather more details. But before I get into that, I'll let Shalini talk about the entire series and T-Hub and why AWS and T-Hub have come together to do this series for innovators and enthusiasts in AI/ML. Shalini, over to you, please.
Thank you everyone for joining this webinar. We welcome each one of you to the webinar series AI4Innovators. We're quite excited to launch this webinar series in partnership with AWS. I hope most of you must have known about T-Hub as an organization, but I would like to spend a couple of minutes giving you a brief on who we are, what we do, and how we do, right? So T-Hub got incorporated in 2015 with a motto to make Hyderabad startup capital of India. So when we started, there are about 500 plus startups. As of today, there are about 2,500 plus startups within Telangana. And T-Hub played a very prominent role in achieving this. How did we do it? So, we enabled an empowered ecosystem, which is hungry of innovation, I would say. So we obviously work with startups, though there are about 180 plus startups within our building from which we operate. We work with 500 plus startups. Our involvement happens much more outside the building. So we work with 500 plus startups at any point of time. So these startups need not be in Hyderabad or Telangana, but and also not even from India, right? So we work with global startups. So other element of our innovation ecosystem is the corporates. We work with almost 200 plus corporates in their innovation initiatives. So Nowadays innovation is no longer an option, right? It has become a necessity. So, if the corporates don't adopt to the changes themselves, then the other organizations are going to step forward and put them out of business. So we encourage a lot of corporates to adopt open innovation models. Likewise, we've done 30 plus corporate innovation programs, which is highest in the country. So that makes us unique, and that gives us experience to run any kind of accelerator programs or corporate innovation programs in various sectors. So other major element in our innovation ecosystem is the investors. So we obviously bring in investors to help the startups and also help the investors to get support or fine tune their engagement models for the Indian startups. We do work with academia. We work with almost all premier institutes in Hyderabad, and in fact, Triple IT Hyderabad, ISB, Nalsar are our board. The major idea is to get the research work or the technology developments, latest technologies from the research labs to the startups. So likewise, we are working with many academic institutions on various projects. We do work with government in terms of policy making, and also from the standpoint of making them the consumers of the startups. So there are about 25 plus startups who are working with government of Telangana to offer various services for different departments in government of Telangana. So likewise, we are helping all the stakeholders to come together and in a way trying to enable and empower ecosystem which is hungry of innovation. So we continuously, strive to encourage and help innovators with guidance and mentorship from the industry experts. So this particular webinar series, AI for Innovators, is one such initiative where we have taken, AWS or Amazon help and trying to create this webinar series to help technical leaders, developers, AML enthusiasts, and anyone who wanted to bring the business impact. So we sincerely thank our esteemed speaker, Mr. Praveen Jayakumar, for accepting our invite to take this session. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy and you're going to find this session very interesting and productive. So thank you once again for joining us. And with no further delay, I'll hand over the stage to Shivam.
Thanks so much, Shalini. So without a further delay, we'll get into the presentation. Just before we do that, want to talk about the next steps of this webinar. After this webinar is over, we plan to offer deeper engagement with selected startups on the AI/ML use cases. So if you are building on AI/ML and you have a use case for AI/ML, then we will be reaching out to you. If you're interested, there'll be a short form for us to understand you better. Fill that form up, and if you get selected, you'll be entitled to credits specifically for AI/ML, and our experts like Praveen and Arun in the team would be engaging one-to-one with you deeper to help you build that use case, which is, I think, much more valuable than the credits. So please feel free to fill that form up if you're interested in this. Now, without delay, handing it over to you, Praveen, to take them through the main content, please.
Yeah, thanks, Shivam. I hope you can hear me, and also I can see the screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just go from the camera just to make sure that my audio is not interrupted. Okay, thanks everyone for joining. So today what we will do is that we will talk about some of the features that AWS machine learning stack has and how it could help you, and some of the use cases that we have seen both globally and in India. We will kind of talk about that, right? So just to start off with. One second. Okay, just my computer is behaving weird. Just give me 1 second. Okay, So just to start off with, if you see the lot of companies, including guys like IDC, have predicted that by 2021, global spending on AI and related technologies will exceed 50 billion, right? And if you see machine learning, it kind of went from being an aspirational technology to mainstream technology extremely fast. For a long time, if you see, the technology was limited to some major tech companies or hardcore academic researchers like universities and other places. But once the cloud computing kind of started coming in, things started changing, right? So now the machine learning and deep learning has become mainstream. The compute power and data became more available, and quite literally, machine learning is now making impact across every industry you see over the screen over here. It quickly kind of moved from being a very peripheral technology to core business and for lot of these industries, right? So that we have been seeing a lot in the field. And if you take ML itself, right, the machine learning and deep learning, a lot of this work happens in AWS, right? When you compare with other platform, a lot of this work happens in AWS, right from customers like global customers like Intuit, Netflix, Toyota, or if you take Indian customers like Redbus, Freshworks, and a lot of these customers run their machine learning workload on top of AWS. Right? So we saw some of the global customers. These are some of the very few Indian customers who are allowed us to kind of name them, right? And we have a long list of customers as well, which we can talk about across different fields. These are some of the customers from Indian customers who are using machine learning. For example, Policy Bazaar uses our text-to-speech service. And they do things like voice broadcasting, critical voice alert, inbound calls, and everything they do with using our machine learning platform, right? If you take a company like ours, they do use a platform called SageMaker to do bring in their own custom containers into custom models into their SageMaker, and they do a lot of modeling using it, right? After some of you might know, it's a startup. Basically, it's more like a personal assistant app for you, and they extensively using one of our service called Poly. Like that, we have Shadi.com is another example where they do our vision, computer vision based services extensively to manage the photo, collection of photo that is available. They're using it, right? So I'll quickly talk about a couple of interesting use cases which our Indian customers have done. One customer is that Redbus. A lot of you might know about Redbus, which is like very popular site for booking bus travel, right? It's more like a SaaS for the bus companies actually, right? One of the issues they had was that a lot of the customers when they are booking a bus, they do go to the review and then check out the review for that particular bus, and then they kind of go ahead and book it, right? But the problem they were having is that they had certain tags and they were allowing users to kind of write the review and do the tagging actually. And most of the times what happened is that the users were clicking the other tags basically, right? And so when SageMaker, Redbus did some analysis, what they found was that it's purely because it's purely if somebody clicks on others, there is a more likely that they may not they are not going and booking their particular ticket actually, right? So once they found out, they came up with this problem statement. We actually very closely worked with them. And then what we did is that we kind of understood, we took the comments, basically when the user entered the comments, no more they don't need to tag. We will tag customer based on understanding the model we created, and if it doesn't fit any of the tags, we would create a separate tag for them and tag that particular review into it, right? So what had happened is that the conversion ratio of that particular segment jumped up by 7%. Whoever clicked the review, that particular segment went up by 7%. 7% is a huge number in case of Redbus, right? Because the amount of tickets they're booking, that's a huge number. We were able to generate 30 new tags that was not there. And basically the number of people clicking the other tags significantly reduced by 50%, because what they found out is that when people click other tags, there is more likely that they will not be end up in booking. So that got significantly reduced, right? So this was completely done in SageMaker and we used a lot of this NLP models to do it, and that's what the customer is currently using. That's the one use case. Another interesting use case again is for a startup, Freshworks. It's a SaaS-based startup, which some of you might know. So what they do is that they have multiple models for every individual customer. They actually create a hyper-personalized model on their data, right? So for their 11K customers, they had about 30,000 different models. And what was happening is that when they were to train this 30,000 models, it was taking significant amount of time. I mean, so every training run used to go about like 25 plus hours, 27 hours it used to go. And so the problem with that is that so they are not able to continuously train, right? I mean, so the amount of frequency of training is greatly reduced because it takes 27 hours and they need to monitor each of this job, how it runs. So there is a big administration setup they have done. So this is a challenge which they came out with, right? So we work with them. We work with them very closely, and then we kind of introduced them to SageMaker. So we converted the training jobs into SageMaker. So the 30K models now they run it in 33 minutes. The training flat 33 minutes. They are able to just complete the training basically, right? So we enable them to do a multi-model parallel training, and also the inference basically they could deploy the inference and go within the next, when they start the training now, the next 1 hour they could finish all the training, all the deployment aspect of it, and they can go live, right? So that's the amount of complexity which some of our services take it out, right? And then, uh, and then this is another insurance organization, a traditional organization which is one of the leading insurance organization. So they wanted to do something called a persistency model. So they actually people take policies from them, and they wanted to find out people who may not pay the policy, right? I mean, there are certain characteristics by that they can understand that these people may not pay the policy, the whatever the amount that needs to be paid every year, every quarter, or something like that. So they kind of used the SageMaker. They created a model, what they called as a persistency model. So what happens is that it tries to find out people who might default, right? And then the information is sent to the call center. So they will kind of talk to them and kind of make them pay and those kind of. Probably they may give them some incentives and those kind of stuff, right? So again, so this is a very traditional organization who moved their entire persistency model. They also moved their cross-selling model into AWS using one of our tool called SageMaker, and they were kind of able to do it. Right? So these are some of the examples from an Indian context. There are multiple other examples from the global context we can speak, but I just wanted to bring this out to you. And then just taking a step back, right? So with AWS, Amazon.com is our parent company, right? So within Amazon.com, for the last 20 years, we have been working with machine learning, right? So if you go to Amazon.com or Prime or whichever Prime movies or music, whichever ones you go, you see the recommendation engine, which is like based on machine learning, right? And then if you go to our fulfillment center, actually I mean, if you go to the YouTube and search for Kiva robots. So it talks about how the robots help us to do the fulfillment of something you order, right? We are doing a drone delivery in some parts of UK. We are doing a drone delivery to the customer. Again, lot of machine learning and deep learning involved. Echo, a lot of people know about Echo. So there's a lot of NLP, NLU at the background that the Echo device uses. And then last few years, we have also something called Ghost Doors, which we have it in US and then probably in a few places in Europe as well, where this is completely a contactless store. So you walk into the store, you tap your phone and just you walk into the store, you pick up whatever you want and then just walk out, right? There is no human intervention anywhere. And you just get charged when you just walk out, your credit card gets charged, that's it, right? So all of this involves very deep machine learning, deep learning, that we have quite a lot of experience. So what we are doing with AWS is that we are trying to take that experience from our parent company, Amazon.com, and trying to provide a lot of this experience that we have as a products and solutions that customers like you can start using it, right? And so our mission in AWS, we saw about Amazon, But our mission within AWS is that we want to put the machine learning into hands of every developer and data scientist, right? So we wanted to democratize what we call it as a democratize. It's not that it has to be only done by a big university or big companies where they have a lot of funding, money, that kind of stuff. We wanted to democratize so that everybody can become a machine learning and a deep learning developer, and they can start rolling out products, right? So that's our mission within AWS, right? So the next question would be why somebody should use AWS for their machine learning workload, right? The reasons being, we kind of have one of the broadest and the deepest set of AI/ML services. Last year alone, we launched about 200 plus different features, which some of it we will talk about. So be it you are an ML, as a data scientist or a developer, we provide tools and capabilities that can help you to start working on it, right? And then the support for frameworks, which is very important, right? Because if you are a deep learning developer, you kind of know that there are different frameworks like TensorFlow, MXNet, PyTorch. There are multiple frameworks available, right? So what we do is that we support all these major frameworks. We don't take a side saying that, hey, we will support only TensorFlow or we will support some other framework. The approach we have taken is that we will treat all these frameworks as a first-class citizens within AWS, and will make sure that these frameworks can be run in an optimized manner, right? So that's the first reason. And the second reason is that our tool set that we provide, let's say if you are a data scientist or a machine learning developer, we provide a tool set called SageMaker, which can actually take away all the heavy lifting that you need to do, right? Typically, if you want to do the training, if you want to do the inference, there's a lot of work which you kind of do it. And as a data scientist, you don't want to spend time in that, and you don't want to spend time in installing some libraries, dependencies, and those kind of stuff, right? That you wanted the heavy lifting has to be, you wanted to kind of outsource it to somebody to do it. That is exactly what the SageMaker tool can do it. So it provides you a 54% lower TCO because of a lot of the heavy lifting done by SageMaker itself, right? And then third, this is built on the most comprehensive cloud platform. So we do, as cloud platform, AWS provides multiple different services. So you could integrate it with any of these services like S3. You could create your data lake in something like an S3 platform, which we have. And that's why, and also just not technology alone, purely, and also the security and other capabilities is really top notch within AWS cloud, right? That's the reason why you see TensorFlow, which is like one of the popular deep learning algorithm. 85% of the TensorFlow workloads actually run on top of AWS, right? And so that's a kind of the proof point to see why AWS is the most preferred platform among the data scientists and machine learning developers, right? So with this, and this is just not me saying, there is a proof basically which in the February 2020, Gartner has rated Amazon as in the leader quadrant #1 for any of the cloud AI developer service, right? So that's the proof of kind of what I've spoken till now, actually. So with this, we will talk about the technology aspects. What are the different features that AWS offers to you, right? So all the AI/ML services that AWS has can be actually classified into three different layers, right? So the first layer, what we have is what we call it as an AI services layer. In this layer, what we do is that we will provide APIs. So as a customer and developer, you can just make a call to the API and start consuming it right away. You don't really need to worry about how the training has happened. And let's say tomorrow, if there is a huge load that is coming on into your system, how the scaling would happen, that is completely taken away from you. And we provide models that is deployed and is available to you as an API, right? So that's the first. We will get into the details of it, but that's the kind of the first layer that provides. Second layer is where you kind of want to have your. There's a lot of times where there is very domain specific, and you wanted to create a model that is using your data because it's extremely domain specific, right? And that's where we have this service called Amazon SageMaker. Amazon SageMaker has multiple features in it. We will talk about those. So if you want to do your custom modeling development, then ML services is the layer that you would be using it, right? And the bottommost layer, what we have is a framework and infrastructure layer, which is built on top of it. And there are a few customers who wanted to have final control of how the training has to be done. At the they wanted to control it, and they typically would be using this framework and infrastructure layer. We provide the CPUs and different frameworks which we'll talk about, right? So at the broad level, we have this three layers where our solutions our products are classified. So first is for the developers for who don't need to worry about you don't need to worry about the underlying model. I just want to make a call, get the result, and then show it in the screen and start working on it. Second is for people who wanted to do the custom modeling, to do the training by themselves and then host it. So we have set up services, and this is for framework and infrastructure is for people who wanted to have very minute control of how do they want to do the training and other aspects of it. They would be using the framework and infrastructure. Right? So one question, so I generally get asked is that, hey, when would you use an API service, the first layer, versus when would you use the second layer, right, where we have SageMaker. So if you don't in your organization, if you don't have AI skills, and if one of those applications you are trying to solve, for example, let's take an example of text extraction, right? So irrespective of whichever domain, let's say if the text is in English, the concepts are similar, right? So for those kind of use cases, it is very well you could just go ahead and start using something like the API services we provide. Things like if you want to do a transcription, again, those are all some of the standard things where you could do the cloud-based API service. And in these services, we also allow some amount of customization, which I'll talk about it. But let's say there is completely a newer domain where you have to use your own data to build your model, very specific to your domain. Then it's absolutely makes sense to using SageMaker, right? So that's the differentiation between when you would use a cloud-based API service or when you would use something like the SageMaker, right? So we will quickly talk about the framework and infrastructure layer, what we provide. As I said, in this, we provide the CPUs and again CPU machines for your training and inference, and we also provide NVIDIA GPUs. If you're using some deep learning algorithms, if you wanted to use GPUs, it's available for you to use it. So that is what we provide at the infra. Apart from that, we also provide what we call it as AMIs. It stands for Amazon Machine Image. So these images are available for different frameworks. For example, if you want to use a TensorFlow, MXNet, or a PyTorch, or Scikit-learn, whichever framework you want to use, these AMIs are available where you could use that to bring your instance, or if you want to create a container out of it, we provide this framework so that you could start using it, right? That is one part of it. And then for inference side, we also provide you different ways. For example, one of the features we provide is an elastic inference. In your case, if there is a reason why if you're using GPU for inference, then we would strongly recommend you to consider elastic inference. This is an accelerator which you could use instead of GPU, very specifically for inference, not for training. So we provide that. We can get onto a discussion. If you are using GPUs for inference, consider using elastic inference. It's a lot way cheaper. So it could help your ROI as well, right? So that's one part of it. From a framework part of it, as I told, we support all the popular frameworks, and we have engineers dedicatedly working on these frameworks just to make sure that these frameworks can run in an optimized manner on AWS infrastructure, right? So that we continuously keep doing it. And on the interface side, we support Keras, which is very popular. A lot of people use it. We support Keras. And then we have we started off something called Gluon, so which is again another interface like Keras. So if you're working in NLP and CV computer vision area, probably you could check out Gluon as an interface. It provides a lot of model zoos and other things for you to get started, right? So that's what we have in the framework and infrastructure layer. And then when we go to the AI services layer, right? When we go to the AI services layer, So there are different services we have. So I'll try to quickly cover some of these services so that you get an idea of it. And if needed, we can have a deeper discussion, one-on-one discussion later based on the use case you have. The first service we have is something called recognition. So it does things like object and scene detection. So we provide an API, pass in that you make a call to the API using the image you have. So we provide different set of APIs, right? So if you want to do object and scene detection, if you want to do a facial analysis of a photo, or facial comparison, one of my customers uses it for doing attendance management system, right? So a person walks in and then they compare the face against the set of images which they kind of already have, right? So those kind of anything related to face and recognition, you could use Amazon recognition. It can also do celebrity recognition. Image moderation is another thing which you can use. You can set it up for nudity level and say that if there's something, then you can stop from that image getting posted. So all those stuff you could use the recognition. Recognition also has another, like, just not on the image. You can also work on the video as well. It can analyze the video and say that hey, what the particular action that is being happening. So if the person is running, walking, those kind of stuff. And then you could also track a person basically, right? Let's say in the video, a person keeps moving from one place to another. The person be facing the camera or back of the camera. Still, we will be able to track the person across. So that's again a feature which video provides. Apart from that, other things what the image provides, like the face recognition, content moderation, celebrity recognition, also provided by recognition video, right? And the next service we have is something called Poly. What Poly does is that it converts a speech into text. You could select what type of accent you want, right? Whether you want to have a Indian English, US English, or UK English, and you can also select what type of whether you want a male voice, female voice. That you could select it. We also started supporting Indian languages. Indian languages now. We are supporting Hindi, Tamil, and Telugu. I think Telugu is also on the roadmap which is coming in. So you will see that a lot more Indian languages getting added into the services. In fact, all of the services as well in the coming quarters, right? One of the interesting thing about Poly is that basically it is very context aware, right? So, for example, let's say if you the left hand side you see that it will say that the temperature in Hyderabad is 15 degrees C, right? That's what it is written. But when it reads out, it knows that hey, you're talking about temperature basically, right? So it will read it out 15 degrees Celsius, right? Or Fahrenheit. So it can understand the context where it is being spoken, and it can pronounce it that way, right? Another example which I like to give is that the word live, Live, right? So based on the context, you could either pronounce it as live or live, basically, right? So if a word like Live is typed, based on the context, Poly understand that whether we have to say live or live. So it's extremely context aware when it spells out. And the good thing about is that it generates an MP3 file out of it. You can take the file, you could reuse it. So you just pay for once making that API call, right? And you could also, if there are very domain-specific words that is being used, for example, let's say you're trying to develop a banking product, and a banking might have a savings plan with a certain name, right? And for those names, which is like a very, very domain-specific, then you could give something like a custom vocabulary and tell how that word is pronounced and how that word needs to be pronounced outside. That you could also do it using custom vocabulary, which Amazon Poly provides. And the next service we have is the opposite of Poly. It's called Transcribe. It converts the speech into text. Some of the interesting aspect of Transcribe is that it supports both regular and telephony audio. Telephony audio is generally a low frequency audio with a lot of disturbance, right? If it's, let's say, in a call center, you will get a lot of disturbance. Still, Transcribe works really well. It gives you a timestamp of when each of the word is spoken, so it's complete timestamps you could see. It has a good punctuation and formatting, so that when you read back, it is actually more legible to kind of read. And then another interesting thing which we have is that recognizing multiple speakers. We call this feature as diarization. So let's say in a call there are three people speaking. We would be able to identify each of this voice and separate it out. Either you don't need to give it in a different channel. So typically, if you go to a call center, they record the agent in another channel, customer in another channel, and they pass it. That is easy to separate, right? But a lot of times, if everything is one channel and there are like 2-3 people speaking, if you want to identify and class it as take out those voices separately, Amazon Transcribe could do it for you. Again, there we also support like Poly. We support custom dictionaries over here. So if there is domain-specific words, you could pass it over here, right? That's what Transcribe does. Comprehend is our NLP engine. So if you want to, from a text, if you want to extract keywords, entities, or a sentiment of the text, or you want to identify the language of the text, or if you want to, for a set of documents that you have, you want to kind of group it based on a topic, Comprehend can help you to do it. This is just an example of, let's say, in the left-hand side, I have this text on Amazon.com, right? So if I run it through Comprehend, it can give me the entities separately. So it says that, so again, as I said, it's an API call, right? You make an API call and get the entities. It will give you all the entities. It will just give you the key phrases. It will tell you what is the sentiment that is being spoken over there. And it can also identify the language of that particular text, right? So just make an API call, get this information. So there, in Comprehend, we also have a very specialized version of Comprehend specifically for the medical field, because that is one of the challenging fields. So there, again, we provide an API, so Comprehend Medical API. So there are two APIs basically. There is one API called for basically the medical name entity to extract the medical relationships and name. There is an API. And then there is another API for identifying the personal identifiable information, right? Like the name, age, and other things, basically. So what this Comprehend Medical does is that you pass in something like a discharge summary. If somebody is hospitalized and they after that they get discharged, they provide a discharge summary, right? So if you provide this to Comprehend Medical, you can take out the medical information out of it, the relationship between them, and then provide you a data in a digital format that you can consume it, right? You might want to store it somewhere, or you might want to use it elsewhere. So that is what this Comprehend Medical can provide you. So again, a simple API call. For example, let's say, I just have a three-liner over here. It says that somebody has a coronary heart disease and they are taking certain medicine, right? So when you call this text with this API, it gives you all this PHI information comes out separately, the name, age, and other things. Then it talks about what is the anatomy and what is the medical condition, what is the medication, and what is the frequency. All this information is extracted out in a structured manner and then given it to you, right? So extremely useful. Here, I just also wanted to point out that we also launched recently. This is a medical Comprehend you see. We also launched a medical transcribe as well. So let's say if there is a transcription specifically by a medical domain, you could use the medical transcribe, and it can convert all the terminologies and everything into a text form, right? That is also kind of available for you to use it. Right? Translate is the next service. We use neural machine translation. It's pretty straightforward. You give a language and then it converts it to other language. So we support 2,804 combinations of languages. This combination of languages, it can detect a language and then convert. Let's say if you say that it converted from whatever text you see into English, we will identify what is the language and then convert it to English or whichever language you specify, right? Pretty straightforward. We support both batch and real time. So both the capabilities are available. So if you have like tons of documents, store it in a location and you can run a batch. Or if it's a real time, let's say you're talking to an agent and a customer talking and then you need a translation, we can also do it in the real time actually, right? The next service, a pretty interesting service which we have is Extract. We call it as a OCR service. The very reason being that there are three key things which kind of Extract provides you, right? So the first feature it provides you is that it can understand the context of the document. So let's say if your document is a two-column document, it can understand the first column and then second column and then give you that data alone, right? Unlike OCR, which will give you a bag of words. And the second feature it provides you is that basically if there is a tabular column inside your document, it can identify those tabular columns and give you the data in a JSON format which you could consume. And the third feature it provides you is that basically if you give any form, you may not have seen the form before, just give any form to Extract, it can extract the values in the name value format and give it to you, right? As you can see in this example. So these are the three key features which Amazon Extract provides. So, and we may not have seen the form before. This is not a template based like typical OCRs. You can give any type of form, you will be able to extract it and give it back to you, right? The next service is Kendra. This is a service which is being newly launched. Basically, this is for if you want to have a search engine based on NLP capabilities. So that is what Kendra provides. We also provide 20 different native connectors. Be it like you might have a lot of your data, your company data could be in a wiki or in a database or somewhere, right? To do search against that, we do provide the connectors. So if we provide simple APIs which Amazon Kendra can kind of use it. So the API provides is that you could provide a natural language questions. It will go into it. The index data, whichever the search index data, it will search and kind of provide you a result, right? So very interesting service. If you have any search kind of requirement, and this can work, the data can be both in your data center or in the cloud. It can work in both the places basically, right? So that's the feature which Kendra provides you. Lex, it's our chatbot engine. So you might have known the Echo device uses something called Alexa. So this is just the API version of Alexa. We call it as Lex. Typically, a lot of customers used to develop chatbot, be it a voice bot or a text-based bot. You could use Amazon Lex to create it. So and once you just have to create it once and then deploy it as a voice bot or a text bot. It is very powerful. We provide different kinds of either it could be informational bot, enterprise productivity bot, or IoT bots that is available over there. So if you have a use case where you want to create a bot kind of a solution, then Amazon Lex could be one of the services you could look into it. Right. So there are two more services on this which kind of wanted to speak, which is again launched early this year. So one is personalized, and the personalized service, let's say, if you have any kind of recommendations kind of use cases, right? I mean, so it could be if you're running a shopping site, you might want to do a recommendation, or if it's like any kind of recommendations, product or anything that you have to do, personalized is a solution that we provide. This is an experience out of Amazon, right? So in Amazon, we have been doing recommendation for a lot of years. So a lot of this capability, we have our own algorithms and everything that we have provided in personalized. So all you have to do is that you have to bring your historical data, what we call it as a user interaction data, what this user has brought in basically, right? If you give this information, that is all the information you need. Additionally, if you want, you could give the user metadata information or the product metadata information. Just run it through personalize. You could select what kind of personalization you want, whether it's a cold start or regular personalization. So Amazon Personalize will do everything for you. It will inspect the data, select the algorithm which will work best for your data, train the model, deploy the model, and provide you an endpoint which your application can start calling now, right? So all you have to provide is the old data that you have, historical data. We can do an auto ML of the entire set and provide you this information. So any type of recommendation, your personalization is a solution which you can think of using it, right? Almost similar concept, but this is forecast is for time series data. If you have a time series data where you want to predict, we provide a service called forecast. Bring your whole time series data, and then there's the auto ML capability, which you can say that, hey, run the auto ML, figure out an appropriate algorithm for me. Or you could also choose the algorithm. We support 5 different algorithms, both statistical and deep learning algorithms. Like from the statistical side, we support ARIMA, ETS, Prophet. And from deep learning algorithm side, we support something called deep AI. So we provide these algorithms. You just bring in your data and say that, hey, go select the algorithm for me, do the training, do the deployment. Then I'll use that for basically provide an API which your application can start calling and start doing the forecasting, right? So forecasting is another service that we have. And we also have something called a fraud detector. So if you are in a B2C site, if you own something, developing a B2C kind of an application, so some of the common frauds could be people creating false user IDs or false user IDs or payment frauds. So what we have done is that, again, based on the experience with Amazon.com and AWS, we have pre-built fraud models for you, right? To identify if it's an online fraud or if it's a payment fraud. You could use this model, bring your data, and start building your fraud detector models on top of it, right? So those kind of, a lot of the B2C companies might need this. So that feature is available in the fraud detector, right? And then we also have this service called Code Guru. Code Guru is nothing but, if let's say if you have written your application and you wanted to know that if your code is basically foolproof, there is no memory leak and other kind of stuff. This is based on the experience that we have in Amazon. So this is, again, it can run on top of your code and then give you a suggestions as well, saying that, hey, there are certain parts of the code that might be a problematic or it needs some kind of a revamp. It can easily measure, identify the application inefficiencies. So that, and both in production and during the development stage as well. So that's what the Code Guru kind of provides. We currently support with Java as the only language now, but we are working on other languages like Python, so it should be available in the near future. Right? So the last on the API services layer is we have something called contact lens. So where this is like combination of multiple services kind of put together. So let's say if in the call center you wanted to analyze how your calls are going through, how many positive calls, negative calls, basically the concept of transcription, running your comprehend, and everything is provided as a service, and it's called Amazon Contact Center or Amazon Lens, we call it. So you could use it and then pass in your data feed and can get the output using the Amazon Contact Lens that is available, right? So we have talked about all the services, right? But what we have seen is that a lot of customers combine multiple services. For example, here, when you want to, let's say there's a digital X-ray and somebody wants to use it for research, you want to anonymize a lot of this personal data that is over there, right? So here, what you could do is that you could use two of our services like Amazon Recognition Image to read the data and then use the comprehend medical to identify which are all the PHI information and then blank it out, right? So you could use the combination of these services to provide a solution to your customer, right? So that's one example. The second example, as I said, is that you might want to use transcribe and comprehend to kind of find the sentiment of what your customer talking, right? Either the data could come from, let's say, your call center or from a Twitter feed. The data can keep coming in, so your customers can tweet or something like that. You can analyze it. You can analyze it using either transcribe or comprehend. Then provide a solution that, like a dashboard or something like that, which your customer can start using it. So the point being, you could bring in multiple services, API services, stitch it together to provide a comprehensive solution, right? So that's the feature that's provided. Again, this is an example of a real-time translation that could happen, right? So if somebody is calling in the real time, you want to do a translation and start using it. We could use a transcribe, translation, and all the services together and provide this kind of a feature to the customer, basically, right? Sorry, it says that you have been made the okay. And then going ahead, so the ML services, probably I'll spend the next 3-4 minutes on the ML services, the SageMaker part of it. Again, a lot of customers, the SageMaker is one of our popular services. Quite a lot of customers use SageMaker. So if you take typically, so I mean, I'll just, I mean, you can see that why customers choose SageMaker, right? Because it kind of takes a lot of heavy lifting out of you. It provides a single IDE for you to do your training and deployment. What we call it as a one-click training and one-click deployment. You can just say that, make an API call to do the training, API call to do the deployment. We will take care of all the heavy lifting of running the training, increasing the number of instances, and all those stuff is taken care by AWS, right? So typically, if you are doing your custom development, you actually need to prepare, collect your data, you choose an algorithm, then you do the training and tuning of that algorithm, right? You do something like hyperparameter optimization and those kind of stuff. And then finally, you deploy and you have to manage. You have to make sure that that particular inference endpoint is scalable and other kinds of it, right? SageMaker can help you across this entire spectrum, right? So for collecting and preparing data, specifically for preparing data, we have a solution called Ground Truth. What Ground Truth does is that basically it can help you. Let's say if you have 20,000 images or 50,000 text, you want to label it. It provides a framework for you to do the labeling, right? So that's a AWS Ground Truth within SageMaker can help you to do it. SageMaker also provides you different algorithms. There are 17 different algorithms that is provided for you to get started. And also, we also support all the popular frameworks like TensorFlow, MXNet, PyTorch, Scikit-learn, Chainer. If you are using any of this framework, you could also bring in your code. And even if you're not part of any of, you're not using any of the framework, let's say you're using R or something like that, still you could create that as a container and bring it to SageMaker and use the training and deployment capabilities, right? So that's the support on the algorithm side. On the training itself, we, as I said, we support something called a one-click training. The training instances run separately. Once the training is over, the training instances are destroyed, and you'll be paying only for the amount of time the trainings are run, right? All your models are securely copied, and we destroy the training instance, right? So that's again, there's a lot of cost saving that happens over here. We also support what we call as a hyperparameter optimization. So you could say that, for example, you want to tune your learning rate in your deep learning algorithm. You could give a range of your learning rate, and we can help you to find out the correct hyperparameter for your data for that particular algorithm. You could track all your job runs that you have run. So there is a way you could track, compare it, say that, hey, if I put this particular learning rate, what was my accuracy? If I change my learning rate, what was my accuracy? You could have run hundreds of experiments like that. And we provide a way to see everything in one screen. You could do a lot of comparison, drag and drop UI, so where you could do like create a graph out of it and then check on that, right? So that is what visually track and compare experiments we do. And then we also support on the inference side, we support real-time endpoint. You could say that, hey, this is my model, go and deploy it. We will support real-time endpoint, batch endpoint. Both the things we support it actually, right? So SageMaker is a complete end-to-end platform for your entire deployment and the inference, I mean, the training and deployment. So if you are interested in this, reach out to us. We can actually go a lot deeper into it and explain about how a lot of cost saving can happen when you use SageMaker as a tool. So couple of so these are all the inbuilt algorithm I talked about that is available. As I said, apart from that, we also support popular frameworks like TensorFlow, MXNet, PyTorch, and Scikit-learn, right? We also have a machine learning marketplace. So if you are so this marketplace, we have a lot of customers who have put their models and algorithms. So at any point of time, you could go there, start using those algorithms. If you don't like it, you can just stop it, and you will be paying only for the amount of time you used it, right? So there are different types of algorithms across different spectrum of domains. You could see over there, and you could start using it actually, right? So what I'll do now is that that's all I have. So I'll just take a pause here and we'll kind of try to answer some of the questions. Arun, is there some questions you want to answer, or you could also go ahead and answer, Arun?
I think I've answered all the questions on the chat.
Okay, okay, that's good. Yeah, okay, okay, then fine. So the point being is that today we kind of covered at a very high level all the services just in 40 minutes. There are only so much deep we can go, but the idea is to showcase what are all the features that is available in the AWS ML portfolio. As I said, if you have something which is like it's just when you can API service, pretty straightforward. Go to your account, make a call to the API. You will be charged only for the number of API calls you make. But if you have a custom modeling, in this case, SageMaker should be your go-to tool. It takes a lot of the heavy lifting out of you. I mean, you can do things like distributed training in a very easy manner. It's just one API call to change a parameter, and we also support something called a spot in the training, right? Spot instances are something that is available in almost like 50 to 70% of a lower cost than typically on-demand instances. So in SageMaker, during the training, you can say that you want to use the spot instances, and then we will provide, if the spot capacity is available, we will provide you that instance. And then, from a training perspective, your cost can come down drastically by about 50 to 70%, right? So any custom development model, consider using SageMaker. And we also support Kubernetes. I mean, we also support TensorFlow, MXNet, PyTorch, containers that is available. You could use that in your, let's say, in your EK, in your Kubernetes setup or something like that. That is also possible to do, right? So with this, I'll just stop here. Shivam, or somebody wants to conclude.
Praveen, yeah, Praveen, there is one question. If you could probably answer that.
Yeah.
So could you use your algorithms to read manually written prescription text by doctors? It just came in. I thought I would read it.
Yeah. So as extract is our engine which can read the text, kind of extract the text out of the document, right? So one of the features that we are working on is adding reading out the manual, somebody handwritten text, right? So that is one thing which we are currently working on. But having said that, in our marketplace, if you go to marketplace, you could find that there are algorithms that is available which can help you to identify the handwritten text. Right? Shivam?
Praveen, sorry. There was another question. I thought Arun will read it out.
Please go ahead.
I have created a model using TF 2.0. What charges are required to run this on AWS without using AWS API?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Arun, again? Sorry.
I have created a model using TensorFlow 2.0. What charges are required to run this on AWS without using API?
Yeah. So basically, so when you have your own custom model, basically there are a couple of things, right? So if you have not used the training, if you're going to use the training, we run the training, training on AWS infrastructure. There is a cost to it, right? If the training runs for 1 hour, we will charge you for that particular machine for 1 hour. After that, if you want to do a deployment, it can be a real-time endpoint deployment or a batch deployment. If it's a real-time deployment, you will be running the instance 24/7 for which you get charged. If it's a batch, you could say that run the batch every 6 hours, every 12 hours. So if the batch takes like 30 minutes to complete, you will be charged only for that, basically, right? So those are the charges that is involved when you are using something like a TensorFlow.
Okay, thanks, Praveen. So the next one is: we are a travel startup. Would like to know more on Redbus case study? and how ML can help us to.
Sure, we can work with you. I mean, please let us know your interest, so we can reach us out after this. I mean, I think that we can actually work with you, talk about this case study, and also help you with your machine learning journey.
I've also sent the Redbus case study from our website on the chat if you would like to refer to that. I think we're over time now. We're done with the time. We'll end it over here. I see there's one more question from Sitaram that is left. I'll reach out to you, Sitaram, and we can take this question offline with you. Thank you so much, guys, for coming and attending the session. As we said, we will reach out to you with with a form if you want to go deeper into the AI services with us and explore the benefits of other programs that we have around AI/ML. Thank you so much once again. Would not take a lot of your time now. Closing the webinar over here. Thanks so much.
Shivan, just a moment. We would like to do a small poll with you guys just to get a sense of it, and also like to announce that this is a part of webinar series, and we would invite the interested one for industrial AI, which is going to happen within a month. And if you guys have any questions which you want Praveen to answer, you can write to us. You'll be also getting a follow-up mail from our side, so you can reply to that mail as if you have any pending questions for Praveen or any of us in the. This is the last question, then we'll close the session for the day. So thank you everyone. For any pending questions or anything which you'd like to ask us, you can always write to us. We will be getting a mail from our side, and as Shivam told, a further in detail form for you to fill and for us to provide some insight and deeper mentorship session to you guys. Bye. Guru.